the fifth and final video. I feel like no guts, no glory. Like if you've watched 4 videos and now you're still here with me, God bless you. What's shaking bacon? I'm Joni Simon. This is The Bite Shot. This is a channel where I'm just sharing how I do my food photography because maybe it would be helpful to you. So we have now done 4 videos in this foundation series. So if you've been here, you know we've covered aperture and shutter speed, ISO and white balance, and now we're just gonna bring it all together, hammer it home, and rock on like photo rock stars. And if you're just joining me for the first time, well, thank you for being here, but you're also going, what the crap is she talking about? Well, I've got all those videos linked, so just jump on over there or there or there, wherever I've got it linked, and you go watch those videos and maybe learn a thing or two. So if you remember back to our very first video, and I said that I always set my aperture first, then I do my shutter speed, and then I do my ISO, because those things work in tandem with each other. So if you are setting up a shot, for example, an overhead shot, and what I said about overhead shots is we want a wide depth of field. So maybe like an 11 or a 12 on our aperture, right? So it's pretty wide depth of field, but that's gonna make for a darker image. So hopefully if you are shooting overhead, maybe you're on something like a C-stand, which is just a tripod that's overhead. If you're not, and you are standing on a table, like I love to do, and you're going overhead, well then you've got to set your shutter speed, and you want the shutter speed to be as low as possible, right? Because we want to let in more light, because we have a really wide depth of field, not letting in a lot of light, dark image, so we can brighten it up by a slower shutter speed. I told you, this all gets confusing. It'll become like second nature in time. But so we want to set a slower shutter speed to allow more light in. But for me, I'm a normal standard human being and I move. I mean, I move a lot. But even when I'm standing very still, there's still ever so slightly I'm moving. And so if you have a slow shutter speed and you're trying to take that picture overhead and you're standing on the table and you're going, oh my God, here's the picture. But you ever so slightly jerk, or you just shake, like an imperceptible shake, it's gonna make that image a little bit blurry, because we talked about movement, right? And so if there's movement happening while that shutter is open, you're gonna see it in the final image. So for me, when I am free-handed over the table doing this thing, the slowest I will set my shutter speed is 1/50. I just know that if I set it at 1/40, 1/30, it's gonna be a blurry image. I just can't keep that still. So that's why sometimes it's helpful to be on a tripod or a C-stand, because it will hold it really nice and still. But so we have set wide depth of field, we've got a low enough aperture, the lowest we can go, and then you look at that image and you're like, it's still dark, Joni. Then we jump over to our ISO, and you might have to bump to 400 or 500 at this point, because you want to let enough light in, but you know you can't go with a slower shutter speed just because you're going to be too shaky. It's too shaky! But those 3 things then all together, working together, are going to give us an overall exposure of that image, which then might be overexposed, it might be underexposed. Now, what's great about technology today is that we can definitely correct those things in post-processing, right? We'll have plenty of Lightroom tutorials on this channel, so you stick around and stay tuned for those. There's plenty of other editing softwares though that are out there, and you can start to manipulate it. But what's great is that we can certainly save some of those things in post-processing. But for me, my personal philosophy, and I'm sure there are people who completely differ with this, I would rather underexpose an image than overexpose it. So if it's a little hair dark, I would rather that than to blow it out and have it be too bright. Because if it's just too bright, if you're shooting in JPEG, you're not gonna be able to necessarily reclaim that information. Now, that's a whole other video for another day when I start talking about shooting in JPEGs versus RAWs and blah, 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 blah. And that's why you gotta stick around on this channel, because there's gonna be a lot more information. But if you've not been shooting in manual, this is a great foundation for you. This is a great jumping off point. This is gonna really put you in command of your images. But like I've said in the other videos, you really have to commit to it. You're gonna wanna jump back into auto mode. You're gonna wanna let your camera do the thinking for you. But really, I felt like when I used to shoot that way, I was just kind of trying to make it work, right? Because the camera is making the decisions for you, and the camera is not as smart as you are. Yes, it's got the intelligence built into it, but as far as the artistry and understanding the image that you're truly looking for, that's up to you. That should not be up to your camera. So throw it in manual mode, push through it, push through the discomfort of being like, I'm trying to get this picture of the ice cream before it melts and I'm dealing with the ISO and I'm blaming Joni. Oh, so stressful, I know. Just try to save the ice cream for once you've really mastered these settings, okay? But that's really, truly, I know for me, what has made me a better photographer over time is tackling those things that really made me uncomfortable, that really challenged me, that super frustrated me, that I'd look at the pictures and go, I hate it. But I promise, if you really delve into these settings and you commit to manual mode, suddenly photography is gonna open up to you. You're gonna feel so much more in control. Your images are gonna be more in control. And then that's when you can really start to infuse your own creative style into those images and get food photos that people look at and go, oh, I see your style. I see how you're doing this. That's awesome. And now that as you have these foundations, you're gonna know exactly what these fancy terms mean. So as we venture into other videos and other topics, you are gonna be empowered, you are gonna be equipped, and you're gonna be ready to rock. So that is it for this foundation series, and definitely rewatch some of those other videos if you're like, wait a minute, aperture, ISO, I mean, explaining it's hard enough, so really putting it into practice, you might need to go through it a couple times. But thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I really hope you got a lot out of this. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you have any questions or follow-ups, or if you just want to send me your pictures or send me feedback or things you want to make sure that I cover in upcoming videos, feel free to leave me comments, or you can find me over at jonisimon.com. I always love hearing from you guys. So I hope you have a wonderful, fabulous day. I hope you take some pictures. I hope you eat something super delicious, maybe pizza. But with that, you stay out of trouble, and I will see you again here real soon. All right, bye guys.